If you're building your first PRS Rimfire rifle, there's one purchase that's going to affect every shot you take, and that's the scope. Today I'm going to walk you through the features that actually matter and why we chose the Arken EP-5 Gen II for this build. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Starting Over series. I'm Robbie, the Precision Rifle Sniper. If you've been following along, you know that in this series we're building out a production class PRS Rimfire rifle one step at a time, and I'm bringing you guys along with me. In the first episode, I showed you guys the Savage B22 Precision we chose for this build. Today's episode, I'm going to show you the optic we chose. This isn't a paid review, and this isn't me trying to convince you to buy one particular scope. My goal is to teach you what to look for so you can make the best decision for your budget. So now let's get into why I chose this scope for the build. This is the Arken EP-5 Gen II 7-35 with the new TRO Tor, the one reticle. And after spending quite a bit of time researching what was available, I honestly believe this is the best value for precision rifle optics on today's market. Now I know everyone has their own brand of scope, and I'm not telling you this is the option that you should choose. There's lots of great scopes out there, but for this project we're trying to pick the best bang for the buck for a production rimfire rifle on the market. And this scope just checked more boxes than any other scope that I found on the market. And the biggest reason is simple. This scope gives you features that until recently were only available on the highest tier optics. One of the biggest upgrades to this new Arken optic is the reticle. If you've been following the channel for a while, you've probably seen me running the DNT the one on my Voodoo rifle. I became a huge fan of that optic because of their reticle, the TRO, the one reticle. It's clean, easy to read, and incredibly fast during a PRS match. Unfortunately, DNT has decided not to continue going with that scope, and they have combined some of my favorite features off of the DNT the one into the new Arken EP line. The good news is they didn't let the reticle disappear. Arken worked with DNT to bring many of those features, including the TRO reticle, over to the new EP-5 Gen II. And that immediately moved this scope into the top of the list. Because in PRS, the reticle is something you look at every time you pull the trigger. If the reticle isn't easy to use under pressure, you're going to fight it all day long. The TRO reticle gives you that clean center aiming point, 2/10 elevation and windage tones, and enough information to make corrections quickly without cluttering or covering the target. And that's just the beginning. The reticle might have been the first thing that got my attention, but it definitely wasn't the only reason I chose this scope. So let's go ahead and look at the rest of the features that made this optic so great. So showing you guys what comes in the box. You get the scope covers. You get the sunshade. You get your owner's manual. You get the turret adjustment wrench to lock and unlock the turrets for your adjustments. I'll show you guys this during the zero process. And then you get your tool for the battery department. So now let's talk about the rest of the features that actually influence my decision for picking this scope. When you're shopping for a precision rifle scope, it's easy to get overwhelmed by all the marketing terms. Instead of focusing on everything, I think there's a few features that matter the most when picking a precision rifle scope. And this optic checks every one of those boxes. The first thing that I wanted was the first focal plane. As you change your magnification, the reticle is going to change size along with the target. So all of your holdovers are going to remain accurate. During a PRS stage, you won't always shoot at max power. So having those accurate holdovers throughout the entire zoom range is a huge advantage. One feature that immediately stood out to me is the turrets. The oversized windage and elevation turrets. They're easy to grab. and easy to read. These large engraved numbers let you verify exactly what you dialed. And as you've already heard, the clicks are crisp and tactile, and you can actually feel every adjustment. When you're under time, moving target to target, confidence in your turrets is a huge deal. This scope also includes the mechanical zero stop, so after making all your dials during a stage, you can quickly dial back down to your zero without having to count the revolutions or wonder if you're on the wrong turn of the turret. That's going to save you time, that's going to build your confidence, and the most important part is going to help prevent costly mistakes at the match. One thing I absolutely refuse to compromise on is turret tracking. If I dial 1 mil, I expect 1 mil. If I dial back down to 0, I expect it to be back at 0. Nothing will ruin a match faster than a scope that doesn't track consistently. So we're going to be testing the tracking in the field once we get this thing mounted up. Next, let's talk about the huge 34mm tube. This thing gives you 32 mils of internal adjustment, and that's going to give you plenty of adjustment for those long-range rimfire targets, because the rimfire bullets start dropping drastically beyond 200 yards. And the new XED glass isn't just about giving you that pretty image. The better clarity is going to help you spot your misses, read the mirage, and sometimes I can even see the bullet trace in the air. That's going to help you make those fast corrections on the clock. That's going to give you those extra hits you need to perform well at the match. But sometimes those PRS rimfire targets can get pretty close. And with this side focus going all the way down to 25 yards, letting you remove the parallax error and sharpening up that image for each distance you're at, gives you the most precise aiming point possible. And that's some of the reasons why this scope won out over all the other ones on the market. When I was trying to balance the performance, the features, and the price to stay in that PRS production class, I just kept coming back to this Arken EP-5 Gen II. There's lots of excellent scopes out there on the market today, but this one just checked the most boxes for the project that I'm working on. It gives me those features I need to stay competitive, and that's exactly what this series is all about. Now that we've picked the rifle and I showed you guys the scope that we're going to be using, next video we're going to be mounting everything up. So if this video helped you, like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you next time.